programme. Julie, do you think there's a way in which that could be rolled down into sixth forms, for example? I mean, why shouldn't, you know, it be part of the pastoral curriculum in independent schools,
well,
in all schools?
I think it's a lovely point, and I suppose that's what we always thought community service was going to be about. And I think we need to have a look again at what we do on community service, to be honest. Can that particular method be done? Funny enough, I ran a thing for Marks and Spencer's the other day, which was really clever. M&S were in a state of grief because they were, this was about 5 years ago actually, they were moving out of their Baker Street head office and into their stonking great posh new building in West London. They were behaving as if, you know, culture had come to an end. Well, actually it was time that culture did come to an end. And they said, how are we going to know anybody in West London? I said, it's only a quarter of a mile down the Baker Street. I don't think it's going to be a great trouble for you. You're not being sent to Burnley, you know. So in the end, to cope with this, we invented a very funny thing called Meet the Neighbours, where we split up 80 of the senior people into 10 teams, and we sent them off for a morning to meet their neighbours. Go and find the job centre on the Edgware Road. Go and talk to that school around the corner. Go and have a word with whatever that particular drug rehab centre is, and then come back and tell us the neighbours you've met. This is an extraordinary concept. I mean, nowadays in Britain, we don't know our neighbours, and we don't even know to understand who our neighbours are. And that meant that 80 of them came back very bouncy, saying, I've never taken in that just round that corner, you know, on that corner of that garage, which I've driven past every morning in my life. Behind there is an absolute heroine who is trying to cope with 10 kids who have absolutely lost their way. And it's called whatever it is, you know, all those sort of extra special support to kids who are no longer in school, who have just been exclusion unions. And I think there are things we can do, and I would love to know how Bromsgrove are managing the understanding of their young people about what the issues are in society. We're terribly good nowadays at sending them to Tanzania. They spend their entire flaming life up and down Kilimanjaro, getting a little bit of, you know, altitude sickness. And you say, so how are you doing in Sandwell, my darlings?
Yeah.
You know, it's not very far. Perhaps we can have a look and see, do the Scouts need some help in Sandwell? What's going on with the Army Cadets in Sandwell? What are the community needs in Sandwell? Who's volunteering for what in Sandwell? Let's invent Bromsgrove Sandwell interns and bring young people to and fro. I think creativity can sort practically any of this, and you've got plenty of that.
I hope the head's listening. I'm sure he is.
I'm sure he is as well. I'll have to make this the final question, sorry.
Charles Budge, I was at Bromsgrove in 65 to 69. I have a son who's just started in the lower sixth, doing some real subfiction. Out of occupation, I've been a self-employed farmer all my life, but I had a choice. I've been a special constable for 13 years in West Mercia. One of the things that I keep seeing is that the middle management is sort of got no direction. I keep thinking that they, along with many other government employees, see their index-linked pension as a goal. Heads above parapets can revive war wounds and things. Do you think that that pension in itself has altered the thinking of those who are employed by government departments to the extent where they've lost their drive and enthusiasm?
Oh, what a hell of a question. It is interesting because my Victoria, who's in the police, says that there's hardly a police officer over 30 who doesn't explain to you how long they've been in and how long they've got to go. 32 years, 4 months, 2 days and an hour. I've only got another 2 years tour, so not too much old chat from you. Quite a common conversation. And I think there is a challenge, to be honest. I have enormous admiration for many of those I've met in the police service particularly, and many I met in the government world. But we've got ourselves somehow in a rather, I suppose it goes back to the British Leyland days, these are blue-collar workers, these are white-collar workers, these are on payroll, these are in the public sector, and this lot are in the private. And somehow, things that Stuart would never believe you do, we continue to do in terms of reasons and, I'm sure, philosophies as to why we laid out for the police a 35-year golden carpet and laid out British Leyland, we can't celebrate anything, then I take it we're going to have to stop. So I do think that some of the cultures are not relevant to the 21st century, and I think they're struggling to find the way through on them. It's interesting that you feel the middle management lost the plot most, because that is always the trouble, isn't it? Is that the top lot are all going on courses and developing a strategy, the bottom lot are actually getting on doing the job, and too many of the lot in the middle, particularly when there are too many flaming levels. Actually, if the Roman Empire could manage itself with only 6 levels between the emperor and the front line, why exactly do we need 48 levels in the West Mercia Police? It's not quite 48, but it is a very long attenuated thing. And my husband always used to say, who ran the Industrial Society, if you have 1/3, most of us can do our own job and 3 other people's jobs as well. If you have 1/8, they can't do their own job and 8 other people's jobs as well. They will die, and that's called a self-curing management structure. And in much of the public sector, it's much too slim. 1/2s and 2/3s and 3s over another 2, as opposed to chunking it up. And I think some of it is about the numbers of levels, which is also about the numbers of hat racks, the numbers of cars, the numbers of this, that, and the other. So I have a jolly good chunking down if I was in charge, but I'm not, thank God. But it's a very good question. We've got to find the way through. We've got to have a great public sector, and we've got to have much, much bigger, more vibrant, more entrepreneurial private sector. And that's what we are a trading nation. We ought to be able to crack this. But if we don't crack the numbers of science and maths graduates coming through, and that whole business then, and the entrepreneurial energy, we won't do it.